Hello, hello, and happy Monday. Thank you for joining me on Writing to Write. I am Ben Pick, and this is where I used to do questionable writing advice through writing metaphors, but have since switched to doing productivity sprints. As I work to finish the fourth novel, prep the fifth novel, I have all my index cards right here, but I kind of put a pause on that as I want to do another editing round on book number 4. And then eventually finish out my series with book number 6. So we'll see how long it takes me, but that is the plan. And having these productivity sprints sort of forces me at least once a week to sit down for an hour and change, hour and a half, and write. So no matter what happens, different days feel like, different amounts of quality work get done. But these productivity sprints keep me steadily progressing forward. So I am working on book number 4. I've been going back and forth with the cover design artists. I'm using Beeble Art. I really like what they're doing. It's a cool design. A lot of my comments are kind of nitpicks. There was some stuff in the background where there were stars where there shouldn't be, so that's the latest change. Also, across the iterations, the title text start off with this very blue color sort of to match the rest of the series. So you can see there's this very blue design, and then sort of shifted into a white. And I can see, like, having tried to recreate what they've done with the titles and my very, very limited Photoshop skills, I can see like the multiple layers that they were using to design it. And I can see how differences in coloring change things. And for better or worse, I can also see the shortcuts they try and take. So in one iteration, they sort of had like a whole bunch of fog that was there. So in the second book, you can see a lot of fog, and it makes sense, the second book cover. But in the fourth one, it doesn't, and they kind of use it to like obscure things, because there was a model of a shadow creature. You can kind of see this big lumbering thing in the background, and it had a noticeable bulge, which I didn't want, and so they covered that up with some fog. And so I had a whole bunch of other comments about general changes with cover number 4, and so they kind of tried to just like obscure everything with fog, and I had to peel it back a little bit, because that's not really what I wanted from the... Thank you, Richard. But yeah, that's not what I wanted for the cover, was to hide all the stuff with all the interesting things that they were designing. I don't want to hide it in fog, especially in cover 4, but in book 2, cover 2, it does make sense. Yes, Richard, that is true, but that's not the type of books that I'm trying to sell. And hey, Richard, thank you for joining in. Happy Monday. We are here. So after last week, things got a little bit better with work-wise. Last week was actually pretty awful with work-wise, because I had the one day, which was really stressful, and then I had a 3-day assessment. But now I'm on a 2-week assessment, week and a half, and it is a much slower pace. And in some ways, I kind of have the answers to the test already, wherein this application was already assessed last year. And so the very first thing I do is I sort of follow in somebody else's footsteps, and I try to make sure that some things are... I try and look at the things that they already looked at a year ago and try and make sure if there are any changes, try and figure out if there are different frameworks that are used. Of course, yeah. Well, I'm not going into the details, but despite how on the surface, it doesn't look like there were many changes, I think underneath there might have been. So I had to redo a lot of the work that was done a year ago, which perfectly fine. But it does still give me a guide of where I need to focus my attention, which is much easier than sort of going into these tests blind, without any advance notice. But that being said, I also finished a complete iteration of my book. So I did finish it during last week's productivity sprint. And then I went through it and I did some scalpel word searches over the week since, and there were a couple of notes I wanted to try and fix. So they were just general comments based on the previous copy editor's work. So my goal is to do another complete iteration and then to get the proofreader done. So I want to try and have like, I don't want there to be any significant changes or any like added paragraphs that the proofreader wouldn't see. So in theory, I want to try and get this book as up to the best version it can be, do a read through, get to a proofreader, and then that will be the final editing step. All right, Adrienne, thank you for joining in. Yeah, so I guess auto updates for the YouTube app. So now you need to use the browser. Fair enough. Yeah. Whatever you gotta do use. I do generally prefer the browser because a lot of the when you give away control to the apps, there's a lot more things that they can do, or a lot more things that they need to be in control of, but they don't necessarily do the best securely. So a lot of times it's best to keep it in a sandboxed setup within the browser. So I actually do have the YouTube app on my phone, but I'm annoyed by it because it is 100% stealing my data. Anyways, let's get started on sprint number 1. And like I said, I'm going to be picking up right back in chapter 1. And I'm going to be rereading through all the way to the end. Obviously not tonight, but over the course of the next few productivity sprints. And I guess I should start planning for the final step, that is the proofreader, probably 2 months from now. Or I can try and set a date for a month and a half, 2 months from now, depending on how quickly I can get through this entire iteration again. And yeah, I should make a note to myself to actually do that. That's a good idea. Cool. Okay. With that in mind, let's get started on the first sprint. Yeah, that's fair. I just wish they'd make mobile web fully responsive. It's not that hard. I literally did it for years. Yes. Absolutely true. Yeah. It's companies intentionally make things more difficult, so we either use their stuff explicitly and then they can just scrape our data and control everything, or whatnot. But let's see here. You don't necessarily need a proofreader after doing your copy edits. My copy editor did a very good and thorough review of my book, but I made a lot of changes since then, and so I want to do one last sanity check. Like book slice on their phones. I mean, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I do. But yes, I do find things a lot easier to use on my laptop. Anyways, let's get started. We have 30 minutes on the clock, and I will see you on the other side of it. Hopefully, I will be done with chapter 1. It's a bit long, so I don't know if I'll need more time than 30 minutes, but in theory, there aren't a whole lot of changes for me to do, and so I can go right through it. So, see you in 30. Welcome back. I did in fact just finish the the first chapter of my latest iteration of editing my novel. So I'm going to start off with chapter 2. I might make it through to chapter 3 by the third of tonight's sprints, which will be really good because there was one little tiny detail I tweaked, like in the first paragraph, that I want to definitely make sure works. It's kind of a progressive update. So the main character's car has definitely been through the ringer, and I included a very short note at the start of this chapter to sort of give like a little update of where it is. And it's not relevant to the current book, but it's relevant to the series overall. And I include a little update. So it's an update. It's a progression of a small plot thread from books 1, 2, and 3. And the car doesn't come up again for the rest of book 4. So there is that. And looks like you, Richard, you reached page 300 of the copy edits, and you'll likely finish this week. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Way to go. Are you going to be looking into a proofreader, or are you, once you finish this latest, making all the changes for the copy editor, are you good to print? Also, let's see here. Miss Blogger, thank you for joining in. You are working on the outline for your fiction, fantasy, and contemporary paranormal romance novel with insta-love, forced proximity, and fate tropes using psychology. Cool, cool, cool. Not sure on the proofreader, though. Yeah, that's fair. Oh, I'm sorry. Why don't you post the link? I think was I an ARC reader for the thaw? I can't quite remember. Maybe I was a beta reader. But yeah, if you post the link, I will more than happily sign up for it. So let me know what you want. Well, assuming I didn't do the beta, because that would be kind of redundant. Yeah. And don't remember if I said this before the first sprint, but I am not going to be hosting a Writing to Write next Monday. So next Monday night is free. For you all, at least. Not for me. Just a little reminder. So next week's Writing to Write is canceled, but I will be back the following week. I won't be here after tonight. It will be August before I am back. Hooray! Yeah. That makes sense. Cool. Means we can go to bed. Yes. And let's see here. How do I get... Cool, cool, cool. Awesome. I guess we can talk offline. Just remind me if I did a beta for it already. Because if I'm coming in fresh, then I'll reread it. But if not, then yeah, we'll figure it all out. Yeah, sorry. If I'm coming to it fresh, I'm more than happy to help you out. If I did a beta already, I don't know. I feel kind of weird doing the ARC as well, but I can be more than happy to help you out. And let's see here. Okay, let's roll right into chapter number 2, productivity sprint number 2. I don't have anything else worth going over. So, like I said, not going to be here next Monday. Sorry about that, but life gets in the way. And yeah, that's all I got. So 20 minutes on the clock. I think that's enough for me to do chapter 2. And I will see you all on the other side of this sleepy pup boy. And welcome back, everyone. Thank you for hanging out. Richard, I fully understand it's late for you, so thank you for joining in for the first two sprints. I finished chapter 2. I'm starting chapter 3, but I want to go back to book 1 to review some things. There's a repeat in a setting, so I want to make sure that the details carry over. And so I will probably start next sprint looking at some of the previous things. Trying to do some string searches and figure it out. Figure out where everything goes. Yeah, that's how it goes. Let me see here. Glass. So I'm going to start off the next sprint by sort of doing a little bit of review. I started chapter 3, so I want to just make sure that the scene works and that I didn't introduce contradiction. So okay, keep kind of stalling here, but I don't have anything worth going over. Keep going. Thanks for the Steam. Awesome. Andy, thank you for hanging out and for joining in. Hope you have a wonderful Monday and hope a wonderful rest of your week. So have fun. Let's see here. All right. Yeah. So there's no reason for me not to just roll right through and start up the next sprint. We can get out here a little bit early, considering how I've been dragging my feet and ending the past few sprints, past few episodes late. Sweet. Adriana, thank you for letting us know that Doggo has been fed and that you were starting to work on dinner. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Work-life balance definitely does suck. Yeah, well, CSP is a pain. I do hope that you get the best out of that test. But with that in mind, let's redo this. And sprint number 3 is up. So I'll see you all in 20. And welcome back, everyone. Thank you for hanging out. I finished the first 3 chapters. I'm now in chapter 4. We'll see how much I can done before next Monday. Although, again, next Monday won't be here, so it'll be 2 Mondays from now. Hopefully, I can get into the teens for chapters. I think that is a reasonable pace, although this will be a pretty busy week. And next, obviously. But yeah. We'll see how it goes. And that's all I got. So have a wonderful 2 weeks. And I'll see you next time. Take care, and thank you for writing with me, and thank you for keeping me honest. Bye now. Oh, wrong one. Too many buttons. There we go. See you now.